that most of you guys probably don't know about me. A lot of you guys do know about me, know my past, my history. If you're curious, just Google my name. It's all negative stuff that I don't take pride in or try to glorify. But I've been thinking for a while that I should go live on here and talk to you about my great grandma. Um, Her name was Sarah. My sister's named after her. She had a handicapped daughter that also lived with me as a child. She was born in 1904, remembers the Great Depression. She was died when she was 108 and was sound mind her entire life up until the day she died. I remember when I went and seen her in the nursing home, she knew who I was and cried and wanted me to take her home. She's always been how she was born in Kansas and then moved to the Cincinnati area, I think, in her 20s. But as a child, I lived with my mom, my dad, my great grandma, my handicapped great aunt, my brother, and my sister. And it was a normal childhood, I would say. I remember when I was little, I was always like intrigued and always trying to dabble in scary movies and try to like catch people talking about things that I shouldn't hear, or like if people whispered, I'd want to know what they were talking about. My mom and dad would try to hide horror movies, and I would sneak in their closet and get it and watch them. I remember watching Freddy's Dead with my brother over and over again when I was like 5. But my great grandma, she was like a lover, an angel on earth. She really was. And at times, I would say that she was more of a parent than my own parents, but I'm not taking no credit away from them because my mom and dad were great and they're great people. But um, when I was a little kid, my mom and my dad uh, would try to do things like get me into drawing or sports or different activities, buy me bikes and skateboards to try to like find something for me to do because I was like really ADHD, had trouble learning and focusing. But as I guess nowadays in 2025, we know that that's just the normal little kid, you know, before uh, most of my generation was cranked on amphetamines. But my grandma, she was always motivating and she always supported me no matter what, if it was skateboarding or my art or playing the drums and not knowing what I was doing. She would tell me how good I'm doing. And I remember when I was in my first band with my best friends, Nick and John, my mom would always be like, turn it off. And my grandma was like getting hard at hearing, especially in her hundreds going. And she'd be like, that's good, play another one. And we'd be like, Grandma said to play another one. So we'd just keep going and ignore my mom. It probably made her mad, but she probably laughs at it now. But she really motivated me and influenced me to keep playing music. So at a young age, especially cranked on amphetamines, I definitely learned how to play drums, keyboard, uh, guitar, bass, trumpet, mandolin, and I took to it pretty easy. So, like the musician path and chic kind of really started with me at like a really, really, really young age. Um, so with that said, my grandma was probably this was probably around 2008. I was probably about 18. I might have like got on a Ouija board once or twice. seen an episode of Ghost Adventures that really didn't catch my attention. I really didn't care much about it. I grew up Christian. Um, really felt more Judaism was what I believed in, but I really didn't know what I believed in. But that kind of comes later in life. But I was with my daughter Anna, her mom, and we were upstairs in the house that I grew up in, and my daughter's mom came up and was like pale white, and this girl's already pale, tiny little beautiful girl, and she was even paler than she normally is. And she said, "Oh my God, Jake, Grandma just scared like the crap out of me." And I remember thinking like something was wrong initially. And I said, What happened?" I said, "Is she okay?" And like I hopped up and was getting ready to run downstairs and check on her. And she's like, "It's not like her, it's what she said." So I said, "What'd she say?" She said, "She told me not to tell nobody, Jake." So this is crazy. Just thinking about this. It's like it feels like it was yesterday. So I run downstairs and I go into a room and I sit down on her bed and I look at her. I say, "Grandma, what did you tell Jerica?" She's like, "Oh, nothing, nothing. Don't worry about it, Jacob. Don't worry about it. Nothing. Oh, nothing. Forget I said anything." I was like, "Grandma, tell me what you told her." I was like, "She's spooked." It startled her. You scared her a little bit. And she goes, "I don't want to scare you." And I think my grandma maybe seen something in my Anna's mom that she's seen in herself, and they're both my grandma was really beautiful, and she was also petite, but she said, "I don't want to scare you." And I was like, "Grandma, I'm a grown man with kids of my own. You're not going to scare me." You know what I mean? And at this point, I'm already like deep into horror movies. Watched Nosferatu a million times with like over like all my favorite punk and metal albums. But Paranormal wasn't there really yet. And she said, when I bought this house, when I moved here from Kansas and I bought this house, it was infested with roaches. And she's like, a woman and her handicapped son lived here. And the woman died, and her handicapped son just kept trying to live and trashed the house. And it was weeks before they found the mom. So, another bizarre connection is that my grandma had a handicapped daughter. She had a handicapped daughter, and she had my mom's mom, Barbara, my actual grandma, who died when my mom was only 18 years old of cancer. But that's another weird connection, is that the woman that died in that house had a handicapped son. My grandma moved in and had a handicapped daughter. Well, I was just like, okay. And like, I'm thinking in my mind, like, okay, so she told her that a woman died in this house. And she said, it took me a long time to clean and get the roaches out. And I was like, that makes sense, you know, if somebody that didn't know how to take care of themselves trashed a house, like I get how it would fall into disarray, I guess. And she said, when Sugar was born, and Sugar's my handicapped great aunt, when Sugar was born, she slept in the room next to me. So if you walk into my house, my house I grew up in, it's a living room to the right, doorway, kitchen to the left is two bedrooms. and a bathroom. Behind that wall is a kitchen. And then there's another room in the very back from the kitchen that goes into a back room. Okay. Well, right when you open the front door, behind that door is a staircase that went up to a cellar, like attic. And then my mom and dad had it remodeled to be two more bedrooms and a bathroom. So at the time, there was just a attic cellar, pointed roof cellar, small, and the two bedrooms to the left, kitchen to the right, when you're standing in the living room, and that's it. And she said Sugar was in one room and I was in the other room sleeping, and she said every night I heard it, Jacob, bang, 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 bang on the ceiling. And I was like, really? Just trying, like, really to keep my composure, because, like, at first I was like kind of in denial, but I was also like intrigued, and I was also just stuck because my grandma, if you guys met this woman, I mean, she was born in 1904 and died when she was 108. You'd probably shut the up and listen too, you know? So she said, I just kept hearing it bang, bang, bang on the ceiling. And it was keeping Sugar awake at night. And Sugar would cry, 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 cry. And that was just listening still intently. And she goes, well, one night, Jacob, I was laying there and I heard it again. Bang, 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 bang. And she said, as soon as I heard Sugar crying, I had enough of it. She said that she walked out of the bedroom through like the hall where the bathroom is into the living room where the stairs lead up into the attic cellar upstairs behind the front door. And she said that she opened the door and walked up to the top of the cellar stairs. And she said, and there she was looking at me. And I said, who? And she said, the woman. I said, you walked upstairs into the attic and there was a woman looking at you. And she said, yes. I said, was she a real woman? She said, no, she was floating. But she was looking right at me. And I said, what did you do? And she said, I told her, this ain't your house. This is my house. Get out of my house. And she said that she opened up the little door and said, get out. Get out of my house right now. You get out of my house right now. And she said that the lady walked past her down the steps. And my grandma said that she stomped on the stairs behind her on the way down the stairs. She said she opened the front door and said, you get out and you stay out. This is my house now. She said that the lady went out the front door and my grandma slammed the door behind her, and she never heard or seen anything ever again. Okay, so now I understand why my daughter's mom was pale white. I was like shocked. I was trying to get every little detail. Like, you told a ghost to leave and said, listen, and you followed it out the front door and slammed the door on the ghost's tail, and she was gone. And my grandma was like, yes. Well, that next day, my dad goes to work. My mom's awake. And I look at my mom and I tell her that whole story over again. I say, Mom, Grandma scared Jerica last night. She said there's a ghost in the house. My mom said, there ain't no ghost in this house. I said, Mom, Grandma told me that there's a ghost in this house, and that she went upstairs because it was keeping Sugar awake, and that she chased the ghost out of the house and told it to leave and never come back, and it's been gone ever since, and that she never told nobody because she didn't want the kids, the grandkids, us, you, when you were a little girl, to be scared. So my mom marched right into my grandma's room, and my grandma told her the exact same story, did not leave one detail out. So I knew, like, okay, she didn't just have like a weird Alzheimer's episode last night and just make up a story. She just told, the next day, she just told my mom the same exact story. So my mom was mad, like, how come she told you? And she never told me. I said, Mom, she didn't want to scare you. It was a secret. She didn't want nobody to know. She didn't want nobody to think about it. And my dad gets home that night at about, I would say, 6 to 8 p.m. after working his ass off all day. And my mom says, Pete, you got to listen to this right now. And my dad's just standing there looking at her intently as she rambles the whole story about how a woman died, how she heard banging on the ceiling, how she went upstairs, and how she told her to leave, followed her down the stairs, kicked her out the front door. And when my mom finally was done, my dad looked at her and said, I know. She told me that 20 years ago. Let that sink in. So if you are thinking my 108-year-old grandma has dementia or is a good storyteller, she told my dad that story in the 90s. This was 2008, and my dad kept that secret for her. My mom said, Why wouldn't you ever tell me? And my dad said, She told me to not tell no one. She said to keep it a secret between me and her. And my dad said, I never told a soul. Well, I guess until now, because everyone knows. And my mom's like, You kept that secret from me for over 20 years, my own grandma. And my dad was like, Yeah, I did. So before you all go thinking old Grandma Heard had dementia or something, she told my dad that story 20 years prior. Now, I figured that this story was crucial because not only did she motivate me in many, many, many ways and love me in many, many, many ways and teach me so many things that were just beneficial to my life, like old songs and wake up songs, the way she would wake me up, the way she took care of my friends, even though she was just so old and frail in her last years. But her memory stayed so sharp. And that's one thing that I can pray that just that I can hold on to is just my memories that I have. But that opened the floodgates to paranormal for me. And ever since that day, I have been on a quest to literally listen, to hear, or to see anything paranormal that I can. And don't get me wrong, I don't put paranormal over my kids. I don't put paranormal over my friends and family. I don't put paranormal, especially over my God, the Creator. But it has become a huge part of my life. And that is what opened the floodgates to who I am and who I become and the person that I am. So, big shout out, rest in peace, Sarah Rose Hurd, my great grandma. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the stories. Thanks for being brave enough to chase a ghost out of the house so I didn't have to live with it as a child. And thank you if you listened or if you watched. I really appreciate you. Either way, I love you and I'm here for you and I want to see all you guys win. It's super easy to hit a like and a subscribe and a share button. I do it to all my friends. If people's doing this to make a living, it's super easy to support somebody and it's free most of the time. But thank you for listening. I'm going to tell you all more stories in the future, and I really hope you liked them. It's good to be back, and it's good to see you guys again. Love you. Hey, I love you too. Hey, so yeah, I'm seeing the chats just now. Just want to say, hey, I love you too. There were some ugly emojis. But I appreciate everybody that tuned in while I was live. That was pretty cool. Really appreciate you. Love you guys.